in the raw. RK's Guyana Free Media. And I'm your friend and your host, your brother Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan. Now this has to do with driver licenses, scams, and thieveries and dishonesties involving the people, the police, and the GRE. I wrote an article and sent it out, and only one newspaper thought it fit to publish something on the scams and the thieveries and the deceits in the driver's license situation and the pandemonium that people are in at the moment, especially those who don't know computers, websites, software. They are left in pandemonium and total confusion. The Guyana police force has not addressed it, but one police officer senior officer decided to change the entire system instantaneously by fiat, in English language, good word to use, or automation by his own thought. My understanding, it is by his will and the hierarchy and the administration of the police department, including the people in traffic department, and people, ordinary police, and traffic police on the road, nobody don't know what the hell is going on. But at his whim, this officer changed the entire system. My take, before I read the article, which is my article, published in Wednesday, 13 July edition of the Chronicle, which no other newspaper thought it wise, but they will publish a lot of nonsensicality and stupidities, including one of my papers that I use for a lot of readings, Kaichor News. They have not published it. They have not touched the article. And this is a serious thing that Glenn Lal should be concerned about. Time to review the process of licensing drivers. But it's not just it is the entire system that is in trouble. The deception, the deceit, the corruption involving quite a lot of police people, mostly in the various testing stations for practical and theory, and also the GRA. Now, I am going to give you some ideas as to what is going on. And I decided to expose this whole madness that is taking place because it has been ongoing for too long a time. And this is not this kind of monies that the guys make adds up to millions of dollars, Mr. Commissioner of Police, GRE Commissioner, tax-free, by bleeding the citizens of this country. And now they're going to bleed them more because of this automatic change by one officer without consulting with the stakeholders and the average citizen, including the private sector commission, including people who are in driving, positive people of the country, and the IRO, the interreligious organizations of Guyana, and so forth. There has been no communication to discuss this change. So what is the change? They went immediately from a system of buying your package, studying and going to 4 sessions on Saturdays, to going to a website, getting your information, download if you want, print. Doesn't cost you anything, but print. But you know who it will cost, ladies and gentlemen, and who will be bled all around? The people who can't read and write. And they will be forced to fork out hundreds of thousands of dollars and add it up to millions and tens of millions of dollars to some people in the GRE. Not the GRE is corrupted, some people in the GRE. And we have seen Commissioner Stature terminating his staff. We have seen police found and being terminated by the commissioner. But it's so much. The money is so much that the guys will continue to do it even from the outside. GRA staff from the outside fired, working clandestinely with GRA staff within. Police personnel fired, working with police personnel within. The corruption is far and long. And so it's time for someone to expose this thing, and it has to take a fearless man, me, your brother, Hajji Dr. Roshan Khan, in the raw. RK's Guyana Free Media. So let me read this article to you, having given my take, and even though it's my article. Dear editor, attention, Commissioner of Police, GRA Commissioner, Minister Ben. I, Hajji Dr. Roshan Khan, consider this matter to be of great importance to Guyana, to saving of lives, and the creation of a new era of driving standards and traffic control in this nation. I selected this caption. Actually, they changed my caption, you know. My caption was more dramatic. Anyhow, I selected this caption to capture the audience. More importantly, the persons named above. That is, the Commissioner of Police, the GRA Commissioner, and Mr. Ben. The Vice President, the President, our Cabinet, and all decent law-abiding citizens of this country. So it's the President, the Vice President, and our Cabinet. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with eyes to hear, I must be going mad, right? Well, you'll hear. With eyes to hear and ears to see. And I'm saying why. These words are intentional for action. I'm reversing these names here for drama, reality, dramatic reality. To draw much attention, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by saying the most famous driving school ever in Guyana was RK's Institute of Motoring. After decades, I had to suspend the business, and I'll tell you why. 90% of our students wanted us to get their licenses for them. As freelancers operating wild all over the place, without a system, were doing by wildcat instructing and corrupt allegedly with various police officers involved in the issuance of licenses and tests, and at times with or without the GRA conspiracies. Now, why without the GRA? Because the GRA guys charge the money, they give you a license, but in 3 years, when you're supposed to renew, you cannot renew. So you cannot renew, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen, because the records in there will not show, but the license will fool police on the road when they are stopped. But if they go in to renew, they will be captured in there by honorable persons, and those staff who sold the licenses might have had to go into hiding. Or they've gotten transferred, or they might not be on the job anymore. At GRA, up to 3 years, corrupted personnel were allegedly charging $40,000, and now it is $60,000 in 2022, or the police allegedly charges about the same to pass you and give you the certificate to go to the GRA, and sometimes there was some more money involved because the police certificate was what gives you a legal license even though they can't drive. I know cases where driver's licenses were delivered to people home, never having gone for the test, never wrote a test, but the tests were done, and they were recorded as punctual, and the system that is totally and nastily corrupted in this country, causing all these accidents. And so a driver's license illegally gotten is a license to murder. A license to murder. The alleged corrupt persons, the purchasers of the driver's license, know that the license will be ineffective in 3 years. They told me, these guys who buy from GRA. They know. But what I'm saying, if the police are being arrested, if the GRA person are being arrested, why not arrest the person who paid the money to get a fake license? The people also must be charged. Friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, in the raw. RK's Guyana Free Media. Those who have done this told me, and they laughed about it, that in 3 years the license will not be good, but you can pay another 40, 50, 60, and we get another license. This is what goes on in this country. And people are dying, massacred, murdered. If you notice, mature, decent people are not killing any drivers or any passengers on the road. It is those who have acquired their licenses illegally, and usually youths, crashing into good, decent people's vehicles and murdering them also while they are pedestrians on the road. This is prevalent with minibuses, private cars, and for addition of motor lorries or a motorcycle, it's 20,000. If you have a car license, they charge you 20,000 to add it on. For a motorcycle. For a lorry, it's 40,000. This is what these policemen are making a killing. These officers in the testing departments. And you know, Commissioner, I am so disappointed at times. These guys could be caught. You just got to put special persons undercover, not necessarily police, but people working with you as kind of informers to go in. And even persons from the special branch to capture them and try to get a license by paying without anything, giving mark money, and then see how far it will go. And with some patience, you can arrest them immediately, or when they're ready to deliver the license, you arrest them right there and then. My beloved, divine friends, family, brothers and sisters. This is a serious thing, because these days, getting a driver's license illegally, as is happening mostly, very few are getting their licenses legally in this country of Guyana. Many of the students were willing to pay the driving school fees, to learn proper driving, and to pay the corrupt transaction fees to acquire the license easily. But they wanted us to go get the license for them. And they didn't want to go for the test. But, so I'm going to go on. Our case has a name behind it. And we cannot succumb to such desperate behavior to tarnish our name, our persona, our dignity, and honor. Many of this in the National Commission of Law and Order, where I was a commissioner, I raised the matter, and then Minister Rohi was taken back when I gave him some idea what's going on. To understand how endemic the thievery and deception was, and still is, and it's even worse now. It is as if policemen and women have joined the force, some of them at least, to get rich suddenly, and moving into traffic department is one of the areas where they could eke out quite some money in dishonest transactions. Most of the persons who are involved in many accidents never attended a driving school. They acquired their licenses by deceit and dishonesty, and I hold the various testing stations in Guyana, the officers responsible. Recently on the east coast of Demerara, one of my drivers wanted a lorry license added to his car license and was told $40,000. Another wanted a motorcycle license added and was told $20,000. I even raised this with the traffic chief. I raised it with a traffic chief. I don't want to say which traffic chief because I don't want to inconvenience anybody's life and career. But I did raise it with a traffic chief. I'm not going to say current, and I'm not going to say which one previously. I think senior police officers are overwhelmed, that is the management, the administration, with the corruption, deceit, and thievery which is endemic in Guyana, and the Guyana police force in particular. Citizens' lives and families' lives are endangered, as we have one of the most atrocious traffic situations in the Caribbean. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, I'm laughing. As I'm writing, Mr. Editor, I will not mention the name of the senior officer who created the worst madness in acquiring a driver's license because he is a gentleman generally and usually an excellent police administrator and law enforcer. The senior officer, according to my information and investigation, at the whim of his tongue, changed the entire system of theory education, theory tests, and has created a platform of absolute corruption and madness. That was not his intention. But I'll go on, and in my take in the beginning, I gave you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about. It might appear studying and testing on a website would control corruption. Would it? And I know the police officer going to end up using this, and maybe the whole police administration. Will it end corruption, or will it make corruption bigger? Let's go back. But, yes, it would lead to more corruption as there would be fake tests, and police officers would end up doing the tests during regular hours or after hours, as they have facilities to find keys or make copies of keys. I know for a fact the driver's licenses are delivered to persons' homes. I made that in my take earlier, even though those persons would have never been present at the testing site. This I know. Nor did they attend any of the practical theory classes. Back to the article. For any officer to make such changes at his own behest, without consultation with stakeholders, and possibly without approval from the minister, and involving the police administration, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Let me continue. It is like taking by the throats or the noses of persons who are driving donkey carts, horse carts, fish vendors, school dropouts, cane cutters, etc., and flinging them into the world of technology, when some of them have never even touched a computer. They might not even understand websites. Of course they would not understand. And to throw them into the world as if they're technically inclined is painful to think of. And that officer made a colossal mistake. This now calls for the intervention of the Commissioner of Police and the Minister. I know some phone calls will be made by maybe higher-ups in government to persons. I know in the past with the regular system, there were some people who could not read and write, but there was a system to accommodate them, ladies and gentlemen. This was created by the British. Every time we try to change the British system, we end up in trouble. Even the security services, Mr. Paul Slow, influencing the commissioner to change the system to lodge weapons at police stations. Now I see they're beginning to change that. Create a mayhem and confusion. Paul Slow made a mistake. Well, he didn't make a mistake. His behavior is like that. I recall when I called him to tell him, Mr. Paul Slow, and he was traffic chief, that the guys were selling the police theory at a surcharge, the package at breakdown. He didn't believe and he doubted me, And then eventually they found out, and I had told the commissioner, and the commissioner called me and apologized. That was Laurie Lewis, and admitted that they were charging an extra $3,000 or $5,000, double to triple, to get a police package. This is goes on in Guyana. This is the reality of life in this country. So we have some people can't read and write. The British said it that way. Farmers, some people who have cane farming, different kinds of farming, rice farmers, they want to drive tractors, they want to own a car, but they know the rules, they know the signs, they know the care, courtesy, and caution. I'm going to come to that. But what happened? Now, how they will do that? Is there a system in place for that? Officer who changed the law, and I'm also addressing technically the Commissioner of Police. If you allowed your officer to change the system, then I have to address the Commissioner of Police as well. I'll even be upset and disappointed with him for not having invited stakeholders meetings. I know in the past, with the regular system we had, there were some people who could not read and write, but they understood the basic care, courtesy, and caution of driving. But they were lacking in the capacity to read and write. As I said, the British had set a system which after independence was maintained, and maintained for a long time. After a while, I lost control. I don't know if they still had it. There was a system, and I pray that system was and still is in place up to recent times, or up to now, Mr. Commissioner, Minister Ben, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, the entire cabinet. If not, it could and should be resuscitated with immediate effect. There are some people who can never read and write, and that's a biological thing to because something is wrong with their brains. But they're smarter and can make more money legally doing farming, vending, and business than all of you all. Or most of us, including me. I know a man who can't read and write, and there was a man in Skeldon, quarantine, who owned businesses and sawmills, and he couldn't read a letter. And he made those who had the biggest qualifications look like fools. So don't underestimate those people who can't read and write. Ask them the questions, they'll give you the answer. And I continue. To take those persons and put them to study the theory on a website and to print from a website will just send them mad. But persons operating internet cafes, etc., they will bleed these people. I mean the poorest people of their monies to print and study with them and do what will happen when it is time to test. At this juncture, these poor people will be forced to fork out 60,000, 100,000 and even more for policemen and police groups and GRA people to get the police drivers, to get the driver's license for them. Without a proper, and this is my take, I'm talking, without a proper public transport system, everybody wants a car. Every single human being wants a car, including housewives, including people who are doing domestic chores and domestic work, because we don't have a good transport system, which was destroyed by former President Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, destroying it all, instituting minibuses, eliminating the train. And so we could have had one of the most modern train system in the world. But he thought that was the end when he took power. There would be no need for trains anymore. And look at what he created in this country. To do the test for them in secret and see to it that they get the certificate for license or GRE, a similar amount, for 3 years, all without any theory and practical driving experience. I've made my points. I know this letter will draw much attention, especially if the editors use my caption. But this Chronicle published, but they didn't use my caption. And I hope that all the newspapers print this letter. Of course, I will vociferously deal with it on RK's in the raw. RK's Guyana Free Media, this media, which has traction. Friends and family, share. Share, because each one of us have had relatives murdered by persons licensed to murder by illegal driver's licenses in this country. Your friend, your brother, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan can. In the raw. Say thank you. A farewell, friends.